I would like to call to order the September 27, 2017 school committee meeting. The time now is 6:32 p.m. We'll be entering into executive session to continue discussion relative to collective bargaining with employee groups and the strategy to be followed and on continued ongoing litigation. The school committee will reconvene in open session following executive session at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
A second. So I have a motion and a second on the floor. This does require a roll call vote. Mrs. Bennett? Aye. Mr. Cutlass?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. At this time, we'll be entering into executive session, and we'll be joining our regular scheduled meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you. Good evening. I would like to call to order the September 27, 2017 school committee meeting. The time now is 7 p.m. The September 27, 2017 school committee meeting will be televised and recorded. Under the open meeting law, the public is permitted to make an audio or video recording of an open session at a public meeting. At this time, I would ask if anyone is recording tonight's meeting to please identify himself or herself. If you see nobody at this time, I'd like to ask everyone to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to now turn it over to our superintendent, Mr. Malone, for the recognition this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, we'd certainly like to recognize some members of our PACs who have done some great work. We had hoped to have them here tonight, but unfortunately, there's a bit of a bug going around, and several of them were hit by that, so unfortunately, they aren't able to be here, but we certainly want to continue on with the recognition. It has to do with our Stop the Bus event that happens annually. This year, it happened on August 23rd, right outside of Market Basket, where we bring one of our school buses up, and parents and community members are encouraged to bring backpacks and items to fill backpacks for students with school supplies, for some of our students and families who can't afford some of those. So it's been a great event the past couple of years, fantastic event this year. Particularly some key organizers are this Ms. Debbie Johnson from the North Street PAC, she's the chair there. Ms. Monica Johnson from the Doing PAC, she's the chair there. And some parents, Barbara Chappie, Nicole Downing, and Heidi Mello. And sitting out there on a kind of a hot afternoon and very nicely advertising for community members to drop off these items. It's just a fantastic event, and it's really provided us a scenario not only where we're meeting the needs of students immediately, but we've actually, this team has provided an event where we're actually stockpiling some of these items so we can utilize them for time to come, whether it's supplies, whether it's backpacks. And it's great to watch some of our students come in on the first day of school and kind of through staffing and parent interaction confidentially being provided these opportunities and feeling like they could be a good part of the community, and parents feeling a little bit of the burden off their shoulders. So it is the great work of these great PAC chairs and the parents in the PAC that promotes this, and certainly we want to honor all those involved with that. And there's even more, and certainly all of those people who drop off. And it's a lot of staff members drop off materials, and it's something that really sets a tone for giving in this town, and it's a positive event for the school. It's done every year, and we couldn't do those kind of things without PAC members and parents that help the students. So that's what we want to honor tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Malone. I guess on behalf of the school committee, I want to extend our sincere appreciation for all the hard work and thoughtful time that goes into coming up with stuff with us and other ideas like that. So please, I'd like to extend to all those involved, not only those running it, but also those that provided the supplies, as well as those with the planning stage. So again, thank you. Please extend our appreciation to them as well in the form of a letter or something. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay, I'd like to turn over now to our student representative, Ms. Grace Morris, who's going to present the Tewksbury Memorial High School report this evening.
Thank you. So DECA is working on getting ready for the fashion show, and they had a meeting last week to start to get all the models ready. Student Council is gradually getting more members, or in the process of planning the Spirit Days for Homecoming Week. Echo Club, their beach cleanup went very well. They picked up 643 pieces of trash and are planning on 2 more charitable events. Best Buddies is doing the Massachusetts Best Buddies Walk on Sunday and are having the parent meetings next Wednesday. And they'll continue to be working on their unified basketball team competing at NBCs. JCL is planning fundraisers, a field trip, and are getting ready to do an outreach program to get younger grades more interested in Latin. International Club had their 14 members serve at a Cor Unum dinner at the Media Center in Lawrence this past Sunday. And club officers attended the selectmen meeting to donate a trash receptacle for 200 Whipple Road on Tuesday. And lastly, SAD Club is working on boosting enrollment, preparing for Applefest, and working on a substance use program.
Thanks so much, Grace. We always appreciate your update and keep doing all the great things everyone does at Tewksbury High School. Thank you. All right, we're going to move right over to presentations this evening. Mr. Malone?
Madam Chair, with your permission, there's two presentations. I was going to reverse the order, if that's okay for you. Okay.
That's fine.
I'd like to have Ms. Vogel please come up for 1 second and talk a little bit about the Tewksbury High School Senior Project. She's joined by Ms. Lapierre and Ms. Gordon, and if you could talk a little bit about the project and certainly introduce your staff.
I'd be happy to. So this evening, the two co-chairs of our senior project committee, Ms. Nicole Lapierre, who's our lead teacher for fine performing arts and a member of the art department, and Ms. Janet Gordon, who's a member of our science department, co-chaired all last year a committee to explore the idea of the senior project, and they're here this evening to share their findings and what they would like to propose for us at TMHS.
Okay. So TMHS, Senior Project. Let's take a look. So why Senior Project? Senior Project is about creating a collaboration between our high school, businesses, and community organizations with the shared goal of better preparing all students to make informed educational and career decisions. So Senior Project is really about finding a way to have students end their high school experience in a very meaningful and positive way. And what I personally love about this proposal and concept is that it's open to all seniors and the experience can be unique to their needs and their desires as to what they want to do in the future regarding their career or a passion they have. And it also involves reaching out to the community and making those important community connections. And I'm really happy that Janet is here tonight because she has a lot of experience in that and is very passionate about it. So she's been an awesome resource. So it would require students to, on their own, actively pursue something they'd like to do at the end of their senior year, whether it is a research project or paper or an externship or a community service project. So some of the things the confines of that are, it would run through April through May, so it would start after April vacation, that fourth quarter, and students would be in class for the 2 weeks of the beginning of fourth quarter to settle up any work they owe or any loose ends before they move on and hopefully have this really meaningful, unique experience. So what would happen is term grades for participating students would close. So that would close out their second semester senior grade. And we're hoping to have a senior assembly in December to provide students information, some of the information we're sharing with you, tonight in a little more detail. There will be a required application process, and applications would be due in February. And the application process is really where the vetting would take place, because each student there's such a wide range of things kids could propose. We might have a student that wants to work with the mechanic, or a student that's interested in the medical field. So maybe they find an appropriate setting where they can pursue that. Or maybe there's a student who has been very active in environmental science with Ms. Gordon and wants to do a research paper about something they learned in that class. I mean, what is so awesome about this is the possibilities are so endless, And there's an opportunity and a unique opportunity for each student. If they want it, it's there. And we want to foster that and make that part of the TMHS experience. So during the application process, because each student is so unique, that's when things would get vetted out. Would it be, I mean, obviously there would be something that might not be an appropriate choice, and that's the time they could be guided in the right direction. Or just to make sure this is something that's legitimate and they're going to learn from it and it is worthy of their time and us endorsing it. So the application will be due in February, and then it does require some written assignments. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this computer. And journal entries. So if I just click, oh boy, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm going to see if I can access this for you really quick.
Kyla, can you shut the screen down for 1 minute, please?
Try to get access to this for you. But there are written assignments and journal entries that are required. So not only are, say if you're doing an externship at, you're interested in business and you're in insurance companies, for example, you would have to track what you're doing. You know, how are you participating? And the coordinator would be giving written assignments. And the written assignments and the examples that I was hoping to show you, it's about reflection. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How would this help you in the future? Some of the assignments would be about researching. Oh, you want to go into banking. You're doing an internship at the bank. Well, how much money can you make doing that? What are the possible career opportunities in the future? Where can, you know, interviewing people that work there. Where did you study? How did you? So the assignments would bring meaning and direction to their placement. It also requires check-ins with their site coordinator and a staff advisor for accountability. So making sure that things are going, you know, as they should be. So there will be a site coordinator, and each individual student would have a staff advisor that they would work with. So for example, as being in the arts, if there was a student who wanted to do a community service project, like for example, paint a mural somewhere in town in one of the municipalities or an appropriate place, that would be a great student that I would happily work with and be able to guide, and that would be an appropriate connection. So it's about the student finding the right project for them and then matching it up with a faculty member that can best advise them in that subject matter or, you know, what they're choosing to do. So eligibility can be rescinded and a student can be returned to their regular scheduled classes. So say, for example, it starts, and first, I don't foresee this happening because it's by choice. It's a choice. It's a conscious choice of wanting to do something. But say someone was dropping the ball, there is always the option of, well, you're not showing up or making your requirements. You need to return to school where you can be monitored and accounted for if you're not able to work independently. So that has to be a stipulation. But again, because it's self-motivating, it's about self-empowerment and exploring your interests, I just don't foresee a lot of problem with that. The student project has to be an unpaid position. AP students remain in attendance in those classes only. So because AP students have made an obligation to that course and to taking the AP test, they would come to school for those courses and then can arrange their externship or project schedule around those classes. So if they took one or two, they would continue to participate in that and meet that obligation as well. And one possibility is if you are taking an AP and you're really interested in doing well on that test, wouldn't it be great to do a research project in that subject matter and really immerse yourself in that subject? So they lose the pressure of other classes they were taking and can focus on the AP and then their project. So it is the equivalent of full-time hours are required for students because they are no longer in classes, and there would be a reduction in hours for the AP students based on the number of classes they are taking so that they can, you know, manage both and meet both obligations. So I'm just going to scroll down, and Janet is going to talk about
So some of the project options that we foresee right now are community service with different entities within the town, an externship, which is what Nicole mentioned also within with a business or some other community partner. They could do an independent senior research project, and if they chose to, they could work on campus for that. A research paper as well is another option. We want to give students some autonomy and to encourage them to think outside the box a little bit, come up with a variety of things that they could do as they explore the potential career pathways or provide some community service somehow. The eligibility requirements include that they need to be on track to graduate and they need to be in good academic standing and in good standing regarding their attendance. We recognize that we need to be a little bit flexible in terms of the applications we receive. Each one has to be evaluated on an individual basis because there can be unique circumstances that will impact any of those three things. So we do have some standards we want them to follow, and the application process, as Nicole said, should vet out anyone who is not committed to this senior project goal. We have some community partners already that we've worked with before. Myself and Cindy Vester have worked with Strongline Farm in town. I've got connections with the community pantry, community garden. I'm also making acquaintance with the town planner. I'm working with him. I'm also working with DPW now. And so I've got a lot of connections. We're encouraging our faculty also to share whatever connections they may have, not just in Tewksbury, but in the region, so that we can broaden that. And Karen's got a great connection with the Lowell Workforce Board, the Greater Lowell Workforce Board, so that we can work on potential career explorations that way. If any of you have any connections and want to share them, we hope that children, we're going to encourage the children to find their own connections, but we realize that maybe if we give them something, some kind of a list to start, they can be inspired to maybe go further and go through finding and develop their own.
I think, and I'm sure a lot of you, being so active in town and in the community, will be able to help add to this, but we thought it was important if we pilot in the spring to have a list, a base to start from. But we also want to make the point that the students do need to have ownership of this and pick their placement, but it is important to, when we're just starting out, have that resource list and start brainstorming collectively. And I know that Janet's been an awesome resource, Karen, and I know all of you are too. So any organizations or businesses you can add to the list would be awesome. So senior project, the culmination of it ends with a presentation of their work to faculty and peers. And there is a rubric, which is also, I'm not going to click on it because I don't want to take up your time, but what I can do is I'll share this with you. I'll email you the link so that you can access this, and when you have free time, look at it and click on any of the links. But it was a rubric, and so when students at the end of May or early June, they'll meet, present their project, and there is a rubric of expectations, and it does also give them the opportunity to present their work and to have that experience of presenting in front of a group and reflecting on what they did and the meaning it brought to them and to the community. And we also would like to have an exhibition open to all students, parents, teachers, the site supervisors, and the community members, so we can showcase what happened and share that information and get upcoming grades excited about the opportunity. And also, so we've listed here just some example schools we looked at. Some in the area, some not, but it's not, we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's been very successful in other communities, and that has inspired us to want to bring it to our kids too and have them also have the opportunity to do this. And I personally, I can't think of a more amazing way to end your senior year, to do something so positive and so meaningful to yourself. Because a lot of times, you know, by the end of senior year, it becomes about prom and just moving on. And this is a really great opportunity to do something awesome and meaningful before you leave us. And so these schools have been helpful in, you know, paving the way, and we were able to look at their materials to get an idea. So we are hoping to pilot at TMHS this spring, and Mr. Brian Guthrie will be the coordinator. So any resources, ideas, and questions could be forwarded to Brian, and we're thankful for the committee members' time and input. And I know for me it's been very positive. I don't get to see Janet a lot, and I learned a lot about the really amazing community outreach work she's done. And there's great things going on in this building and teachers doing amazing things, and this is a way to showcase it to the entire community as a whole and to impact our seniors' lives and their high school experience. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
That was an excellent presentation. And it certainly was very detailed in the packet as well, so we definitely appreciate getting that information ahead of time. At this time, I'd like to open up to any of my colleagues. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the presentation this evening? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I think it's a great idea. Do you have any idea how many students you anticipate participating in
No,
this
we,
spring?
for the pilot, no. And our thought process was, let's leave it open and let's see what happens. Let's see what, you know, put out the formal application process, have the assembly inform them, give them information and ideas, and see who comes forward. Because we certainly don't want to turn anyone away or limit it.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Francis?
Thank you. I just think it's a tremendous idea, and it was a great presentation. And I think anytime we can showcase what we do at the high school and what our students do, I think it's tremendous, not just for the students, also for the community. And I really like the idea of when at the very end of the program where there's presentations where not just students and faculty, but community members can come and see what great things our students do. Like I said, we talk about this all the time. Our students do great things, and what better way than to do it. I think it's just a tremendous idea, and thank you for all the work that you put into this.
Thank you, Mr. Francis.
I think it's a great idea as well, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Guthrie.
Yeah. No, I think it's a wonderful idea. Do you have, as Mr. Sullivan said, any sense though of how many kids would want to participate? Did you survey them at all? Or how did the other towns do? Like, did you have, for examples? What?
To kick it off, I'm going to
Sean, you want to
yes, Sean, I'm going to have
Sure.
to ask you to speak to that.
So, I lived this in another district, the pilot and the rollout of the whole program. And in the first year, we ended up, I think, with about a school of 1,500, we ended up with about 50 or so participants. In the last year that I was there, they had only 12 students of a class of 400 who did not participate. So it grew very quickly. That was about the span of 5 years. So we've talked amongst ourselves about this, and we'd be surprised if we weren't in the 30 to 50 ballpark at least.
Well, that sounds great. That's good. Yeah. Staff would meet with them once a week or once every 2 weeks.
Yes.
Periodically, something like that. Sounds great. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Mr. Cutlass. Mr. Bennett?
I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you for bringing it to Tewksbury. I have to say, I think you will get a high percentage of interest, especially when you're telling them they don't have to go to the class, you know, you're ending the term a little earlier for them and going on and doing such a remarkable service to either the community or for themselves of the business work. I think this would definitely help. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I echo what everyone else says. I think this is great. We continue to just keep moving forward and keep having so many opportunities for our students, and that's really a tribute to all your hard work and brainstorming and seeing what other communities have done, and just to even bring this to our students. So thank you for that. I just had a couple quick questions. So when you talk about an assembly, is that just a student assembly, or at what point are we going to have parent engagement too? Or I know they're seniors and they're adults and they're going out into the real world, but if it's if they're leaving and they're doing things in the community, where is there parent involvement, or how is that going to work?
From literature I've read, it does require parent consent.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. And other districts have, used a formal letter and signing up. You do have to have parent consent. I mean, the idea was we would introduce it to seniors in December and send the information home with them. You do raise an interesting point. There could be, if enough parents, because it is the first year, I mean, we could potentially have a parent meeting if they wanted more and would feel more comfortable having a meeting for this time.
I'm just thinking like just the buy-in, I mean, the students may be very, very excited, but we all know sometimes in the household, whoever the students are with have to be supportive of it as well. Certainly
That's
just
true.
going out, it could interfere to work, sports, different things, but I think it would be great, because once you get parents involved, there could be parents bringing in a lot of other opportunities too, because let's be honest, with all the students we have here in this district, there's so many wonderful opportunities I bet within if we went into even the pool of parents, different work places and so forth, they could bring back to the kids as well. So I was just curious, so that's actually good that we are thinking in terms of all different things like that. And then who reviews the application? Like, I guess it wasn't clear when I read through everything, so I know there was a committee that put this together. Is it going to be their guidance counselor that knows the students? Is there a committee that reviews the applications? Like, who decides who's going to work with who? Like, I guess I just wasn't quite sure,
Well, I think it is important to involve guidance, the administration, and committee members who wanted to still contribute could, but the student has to seek out the faculty advisor, so they have to approach that person themselves, and that's actually a really good experience, because in life, if you want to do something, you have to go out and advocate for yourself. So they have to find a faculty member who's willing to sponsor them and agree to it, and that would be part of their application process, then that is then presented to the committee that reviews the application process.
That's wonderful. That's actually great.
It requires them to self-initiate, which is good. I mean, that's part of growing up and getting a job and going off in the world. And
Absolutely. And then the last thing that I just thought of is when you were talking about, we could help you, we certainly can. I think we can all reach out and see if we can get you some more partners. Just from the work that we do in the community, we could probably help you out with that. But also I was wondering, was there any thought in a newspaper article or just putting it out on social media about, hey, we have this committee, we're doing this pilot program, like a nice, great letter out there to the community, and we could, in that presentation, certainly ask if there's people out there that would want to partner. But I think it's such a great thing that you're doing in Tewksbury that
I think that's a great point, and that should be our next plan of action.
All right, wonderful. I think this is great. Again, I continue to be impressed with all the different things that keep coming out of the high school and the opportunities for our students. So please extend our thanks to the committee and everybody involved. This is really wonderful opportunities for our students. I hope they take advantage of many of the students. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't think we don't need to take, do they want any vote of support from the committee? Do we need to take any type of vote that?
I think in theory, they certainly have the blessing of,
And would you like the support of the school committee? Would you like us to take an informal vote or?
Yes,
With all the hard work that you did, Mr. Francis is going to make a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, I make a motion that we support the TMHS senior project moving forward.
I'll second.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to support Tewksbury Memorial High School with the pilot rolling out this spring for a senior project and the wonderful opportunities it's going to present for our students. This requires a roll call vote. Mrs. Bennett?
Aye.
Mr. Cutlass?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Unanimous vote. Go get them. Sounds wonderful. So did they need time to set up for the PSATs? Or do they have to put anything? Okay, perfect.
Madam Chair, also here tonight we have Ms. Karen Baker-O'Brien, who's going to do a presentation on PSAT planning update and AP testing. And Ms. Vogel is with her as well, which is great.
Good evening. So this academic year, the PSAT test has been moved from a Saturday administration to a Wednesday administration. The College Board provides both opportunities for schools, and there was discussion last year to move it forward into the school year. It allows us to bypass any barriers students may have, like outside commitments of employment or even commitment to an athletic program that they may have. So by doing that, it means that we need to take some action with the school day. For our junior students, the PSAT can be high-stakes testing because it's an opportunity, if you score well enough within your peers in the country, to potentially receive recognition as a commended student and a semifinalist and/or a finalist. So it's really important that we do different activities and remove other students from their testing rooms. So the juniors will be testing on the 3rd floor, sophomores will be testing on the 2nd floor, and then the freshmen will have activities that have been coordinated through Brian Anwood and Ms. Vogel to keep and kind of incorporate into the history curriculum through the Indian Council. Our seniors, we're encouraging them to do a college visit day, and this is a great opportunity because during the fall season, unlike the summertime, or even in the spring when kids go out and visit colleges, during the fall, if you visit college, some of those colleges offer you to get a waiver for the application. So if that school is participating in that program, that student could be saving anywhere between $20 to $70 depending on the school. So we're hoping that a lot of students participate in that opportunity. The only requirement we're having is that they come into guidance and they indicate what school they will be attending on that day, so that the guidance counselor can follow up and have a discussion with that student. PSAT exams cost $16 an exam. If we exceed 20% of unused exams, then there's a $4 charge. So our ordering was very close. We ordered 485 exams. We have 465, so there's a 20 exam difference right there. We're not going to pay for those. And if we have students that did not attend that day for the testing for whatever reason they were ill, we will probably still won't. The only time we'll pay that $4 fee is if we exceed 97 exams. So I feel fairly confident based on when the last time we did this during the school year 2 years ago. I believe there was somewhere around 18 students that did not participate. So I don't anticipate us getting in a position to pay the additional fee. So I think we've structured the day. The students will be dismissed, and we will provide lunch for them. So the freshmen will have the first lunch around 11:30, and then because of the testing times, we will have the the juniors and the sophomores have lunch at 12. The bus will pick them up at 12:30. So that's pretty much the PSATs.
So the 9th graders are going to be doing workshops similar to what we did last May on the Friday before the Memorial Day weekend, where we had the GLICA, the Greater Lowell Indian Council, came in and did a bunch of breakout sessions with all of our 9th graders around Native American culture, traditions, and history. So we will be doing that. They'll just be in these workshops for longer periods of time, which is great. So around 40 minutes, and they will go to they'll rotate through and 4 different sessions, and they do an opening sort of presentation with the kids, where they give them sort of a global view and show them, demonstrate some of the traditions, and then at the end, he'll do a Q&A, kind of a question, so after the kids have some experiences and exposure, they have an opportunity to ask questions. So it's a really, I just met with Chief Libby this morning, and they're really excited, and we're really excited to have them be able to spend more time with our freshmen on that day.
Does anyone have any questions on the PSATs or the rollout for that and how we have them? Yes, Mr. Francis.
Thank you. I just think it's a great idea going back to the school day, because I think, as you mentioned, sports and other activities, you're taking a lot of pressure off the student to decide, well, do I take this or do I go play or do whatever. So I just think it's a great idea.
In the transportation issue for some students, they will have the transportation to the test and part from the test.
I just think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Anyone else, Mrs. Bennett?
I think you had told us before, you always have a hard time finding proctors as well, so this kind of
Alleviates that issue, absolutely. I have plenty of proctors at my disposal.
Willing to help, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, they are.
And it is, definitely a help for students to also come into a familiar environment instead of trying to find a place that'll host the PSATs and try to drive there, or parents
it's important to note too, thank you, the committee, because you supported the cost for during the school day PSAT testing for all our students. What we saw years back is it's almost a wash because we don't have to pay proctors, we don't have to have all the food available to everybody. So it's really, it's a wash on the cost, the expense, but all of our students, at least mostly all of our students are tested. They're not disrupted, that freshman activities all happening on the first floor. And contractually, we're still maintaining the teacher prep by making sure that all teachers who participate in the full day of either testing or freshman activity have their preparation period at the end of the day. So it really works out well for everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well thought out, well planned out, and the great thing about it is all inclusive. All the students are. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
So moving on to APs, as you know, APs provide the most rigorous coursework available to our students. So it's twofold. You know, it's important for our students to participate in the most rigorous courses available to them, to strengthen their transcript and open their college opportunities upon graduation. You know, and 2 years ago, Kristen had moved forward to change the schedule to open up more opportunities. The growth we've seen is amazing with the AP program in particular. First, we had the introduction of 5 new AP courses over the last 2 years. AP Spanish, Psychology, Physics, AP History, some of them. And what we found is that we have also more students participating. We had an increase over the last 2 years of 124 more exams were given, are taken by our students, and in a 5-year analysis, 164 exams in comparison to 5 years ago that our students participated. The growth can also be seen among students. For example, if you look at 2015, we had 33 students that participated in the AP exam, which is 76 over a 5-year period of time. That growth is amazing because our students are taking advantage of more opportunities. We had 64 seniors last year that participated in 2 exams, 42 in 2016, which is an increase of 12. We had 22 seniors that took 3 or more AP exams last year, which is an increase of 19 students in comparison to 3 students who took that 3 or more exams in 2016. For juniors, there were 35 students who participated in 2 exams in comparison to 6 in the year prior. The most significant change, I think, is the juniors. In the juniors that we saw is the growth of participation. And then I'd like to focus, I know that the charts can be a little bit confusing. So if you look at the AP summary report, there's a lot of information on here. The bar chart is a comparison for 5 years that looks at our school and our performance in comparison to the state and then the global participation. But what I'd like to concentrate on more specifically is if you turn to page 2 through 5, it breaks it down by exam. But what I'd like to start with is some of this can be a little confusing because some of the boxes, in particular, if you look at page 3, you're going to look at computer science and you're going to see environmental science. And you're going to see some data in there and then you're not going to see any other data. And what that means is those 2 tests were tests that students participated in through our online providers because those courses weren't offered in our high school. So those students wanted to participate in those exams and took advantage of that opportunity through the online provider. So in pointing out also Latin, it's based on the interest of our students. So at some years, 2013, we had students who were interested. 2014, 2015, we didn't have student interest in it for that exam to run, but we did again in 2016 and 2017. And then the Physics B, that was an online course that students took, but Physics C was a class that we offered last year in our school. The Spanish language was the first time we offered it here with our language lab. I think the other thing that's really important when you look at the individual test, so the most important thing is for students to participate in the rigorous course for the college application process. The second thing that AP provide our students with is if they score between a 3 and a 5, if the college accepts the AP credit, they have the ability to waive a course in college, which then means it's a cost saving measure for the family. Some schools don't. There are many schools that don't waive the APs, but it's the AP rigor of that coursework that opens the door for that college applicant. So moving forward, if you look at this, 7 out of our 12 AP exams, 7 out of 12, we had our students, 50% or more of our students received 3 or above for scores. One of our classes, which I think needs to be noted, which was the first year we offered it, the first year utilizing this lab, was our AP Spanish with 100% of participants who received a 3 or better, which is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. Now, there was a lot of training to make sure we knew how to use the equipment. The kids were very versed, but the guidance staff had to be trained because we have to facilitate that exam, because the teacher of that content area cannot be in contact with the students or the exams during the test administration. So there was a lot of training behind the scene. We were able to successfully go through that. So I think, RASA deserves a lot of kudos for having her students get to that point.
And just one other thing, you have to remember that with the Spanish, right, our kids really start with Spanish 1 in 9th grade, so they essentially went to beyond a Spanish 5 in 4 years, and that's remarkable. I mean, that speaks volumes to our Spanish department and the work that they've been doing over the last probably 5 to 10 years on developing curriculum and aligning their curriculum and their lessons and new textbooks and using the language lab. It's really, it's really exciting. And Grasa was so passionate about this, and she was the driving force. Because I have to say, I was like, I don't know. I don't want to put the kids in that position. She's like, we're going to do it. We've got to jump in with 2 feet and see how it goes. And she was right. It was fantastic.
And the other thing I'd like to point out, the 2 reports that aren't College Board are ones that are done by Pat Whitehouse, who does an amazing job for the guidance department on so many levels. And these reports allow us to keep a better grip internally on what's going on with our AP exams. So I'd like to recognize Pat for that also.
Does anybody have any questions? Mrs. Bennett?
I just have a couple for you. This is incredible how many students are now taking APs. So thank you for opening that up, and also all your staff for going along with this 7-course schedule. I think that's really been a benefit. A couple of things. Is there any way for us also to get the results of, I noticed that the AP Physics C wasn't in here, the U.S. History wasn't in here, and I think even the Spanish. I was glad to see the Spanish turned out well, or at least it's not mine, but.
You should have had the AP history in there, and the physics.
I've got
C.
I think if I can speak to him, actually, I think what Ms. Bennett's looking for is a 5-year trend.
Well, I don't want the 5-year, sorry, I don't need the 5-year trend.
That's why they're not in the 5-year trend chart.
Okay, yeah, so just even for this year, because I understand we never had AP Physics, right? And we never had.
Right. Last year was the first year we offered it. Right.
Spanish was never.
Do you not have page 5?
No.
No, you don't.
Okay, that's why.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like, is the feedback given to the staff members, how the AP results came out?
So each of the AP teachers in the summer get a code and an access to go in and to review their class performance. And then they can kind of look at that and see how they can better develop their program. And I know that there's a lot of work going on, and I think, Kristen, correct me, I think a lot of work went on in the summer after going through last academic year and seeing what we can do and how we can approach this academic year. And this is things that go on every year as we look at our AP scores and results to see how, we can get it enhanced. But overall, I mean, the fact that the majority of our students are getting 3s or better is amazing. And again, if you look at that bar chart, overall, our scores have increased every year. There have been some dips, but we have consistently stayed in the 60s, and we are at 68%. And we have 68% with many more students participating in comparison to 67% 5 years ago with far less students participating, which I think that number speaks volumes to where our program is today.
And I kind of agree with you. I was a little skeptical on the AP Spanish as well, skipping that level. She is remarkable.
She's
That's for
remarkable.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. Mr. Cutlass?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one thing. Yeah, the growth is remarkable from 128 in 2013 to 200, over 200. And even the scores like in calculus, chemistry, and English literature, we exceeded the state average in every single one of those by a substantial amount. So that's tremendous also. So I think we're moving in a tremendous direction that way. You get tremendous growth in that, and I think that's great for our kids and our school
The other thing to
staff.
consider is the fact that the waterfall schedule provides so many more opportunities for our students to participate in APs. And the fact that it opens up doors for more AP coursework just strengthens our school in the college arena and our students' applications.
And we're a level 1 high school, right?
That's right.
Yes, outstanding report, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cutlass. Mr. Francis?
Thank you. I won't echo what all of my other committee members said, but one of the things that's amazing to me is the amount of students taking 3 or more exams on that number is just unbelievable what the
It
number
is.
was and what it is now. And again, it goes to show you, like you said, I think the change in the schedule is one of the factors that's helped this process along. Again, just remarkable results.
Thanks, Mr. Francis.
I just have one question. Is there requirements or prerequisites for anyone to take an AP? Or?
No.
Nope.
Madam Chair, if I may, that speaks volumes.
Yes.
As to why we're a level 1 high school. Our core program, college prep courses and honors programs, are setting our students up. The prerequisite isn't that a student has to have gone through certain honors classes to go to AP. We want AP courses, the most rigorous course available to all students, and that speaks volumes. That without those prerequisites, any student in our core program can be successful in the AP course, and they are. Important to know, as Mr. Sullivan passed along.
That goes to show that certainly students have different passions, and they could excel in one area, and maybe have challenges in more difficulties in others, so it's great. I just want to commend you for, you really believe in our students, and then you push them, and I've seen such a culture shift on really challenging, certainly at the high school, and we do it in all our schools, but you really are pushing students out of their comfort zones and believing in them and telling them they can do it, and we're really getting great results. So, again, we have to commend you. We continue to do unbelievable things, and that's why we are a level 1 school. Again and again. You guys keep up the great work. You should be so proud of what's happening at the high school. I know I am, as well as my colleagues, so thank you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on our agenda is Citizens Forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak this evening on anything on our agenda or anything this evening for the school committee? Come on up. I would just ask if you can have a seat right here. Get right up where they were.
Microphone right on that.
There's a microphone so we can hear you.
I haven't done this in about 20 years.
Take your time. The only thing I ask is just if you could please say your name and then your street address,
Okay.
and then certainly whatever you'd like to say.
Okay, my name is Dennis Donnelly. I live at 1 Allen Road Extension in Tewksbury. And I'm not even sure if this is the venue that I come to. I tried alternate routes and I've gotten nowhere. I've actually spoken to you, Madam President, on the phone about my son's bus stop that I've been having issues with.
Okay?
And I spoke to you maybe about over a week ago, and you had told me you would reach out to Mr. Superintendent and have his office contact me back, and I still haven't heard back. And
originally this started at the beginning of the year where, so my son's bus stop is about a mile away from my house, and he has to walk down a very dangerous street, which I consider, living in that neighborhood, I consider a dangerous street. So last year I had the same issue when he went to the Ryan School. It was addressed last year. His bus stop was moved closer to my house, and everybody it was fine for me. It was about halfway in between where his bus stop was and my house, so it wasn't like they came directly to my door. And then this year, the new bus schedule comes out, and it was back to the original bus stop. So I reached out to Mr. Libby and spoke to Mr. Libby, which I got nowhere with him. Like it was kind of like a back and forth and tough luck, like I can't help you. And so I actually reached out to my state representative and spoke to them. They had actually reached out to Mr. Libby also to no avail, and same issue. He's telling me it's a time issue because of the Ryan School pickup, which I understand that, and I told him I completely understand that. But when I go online and I look up the bus stop schedule, and I actually like made a map of it and put like all the bus stops that are being stopped on my son's bus route, and I see a cluster of 5 or 6 kids that are being picked up all within a block of each other. And last year the issue was told to me that anybody that's within a mile is due to go out to a corner, to a bus stop, to meet at the corner. And when I do the map on here, it just appalls me that there's a kid that gets picked up 3 houses away from my son's bus stop, in front of his house, directly beep beep. He comes out of the house, and he gets on the bus, and it drives 3 houses up to the corner that my son just walked almost a mile to get to. But this kid that lives 3 houses away, they're telling me it's a time issue, but he gets picked up in front of his house. And I just think where my son, it's not fair that where I bought my house, because I'm not near a main road, that he's punished that he has to walk that far. And for me, it's a very dangerous street. Like I've seen it, I've seen people coming around. It's a windy road. It goes up and down, and right now it's fine. The weather's nice. I'm worried about when it starts snowing, it starts icing up in the streets, and people are coming around those turns. As we all know, 90% of people driving nowadays are texting on their phone, not paying attention, and I just don't want my son to be a casualty for the fact that somebody's telling me that they can't spend 30 seconds to go up the street and 30 seconds to come back. And like I said, I've mapped it out. There's a cluster of at least 2 to 3 stops that these kids are all getting picked up way closer. Like even if he moved my son's bus stop to my previous one last year, I still feel my son is walking further than every one of these kids on this bus stop. And I just don't know what to do, so I've come to you to see if I can get help. That's all I'm asking for.
I'll be honest with you, this is not the time or the place. I thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate that you came tonight. I understand your concerns for your son. What I would ask you to do, if you could just leave your name and number with Mrs.
I left you my name and number a week and a half ago. We spoke on the phone.
Yep, and my understanding was Mr. Libby did follow you back. We have a chain of command. So what I'm asking you to do is you can leave your number with Mrs. Johnson today. I will make sure that this follows the chain of command in our system. So it sounds like you've already gone up to Mr. Libby. Has Mrs. Matthews called you? Okay, so that would be the next step, and I will make sure, after tonight, and certainly you taking the time to come here, I will make sure that we follow the chain of command, and next goes to Dave Libby, which would be Miss Matthews, and give her an opportunity to discuss this with you. If not Miss Matthews, it will then go to our superintendent, Mr. Malone, and give him the opportunity, and then if you're dissatisfied with that, at that time, it then comes to school committee. So I apologize. I was under the understanding that Mr. Libby called you back, but it sounds like you're dissatisfied, so we need to go to the next level. So I will make sure that I personally look at this, and I will follow up. But if you could leave your name and number with Mrs. Johnson, we will make sure that Mrs. Matthews gets back to you tomorrow with this. And this is something that we certainly will look into it, and we can follow through the chain of command for you. Thank you for coming this evening. I do appreciate it. Is there anyone else wishing to speak about anything this evening? Okay, not seeing anyone, we're going to go over to our clerk, Mr. Sullivan, to present our meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the September 13th, 2017 regular meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to approve the September 13th, 2017 regular meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well.
I'd also like to move the school department payroll for the period ending September 21st, 2017, to be approved and certified in the amounts and categories as shown for a total amount of $1,287,765.19.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor this evening to approve the payroll period ending September 21st, 2017. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I would now like to turn it over to Mr. Malone this evening for our superintendent and staff reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly a reminder to all citizens that the upcoming special town meeting will take place next Tuesday at 7 p.m. here at Tewksbury Memorial High School. And I wanted to take this opportunity to review some of the articles that will be voted on at town meeting. And certainly start off with a huge thank you to this committee, to our town manager, to our board of selectmen, and to our finance committee members who have proposed some budgetary items in these articles that will significantly support the schools and voted through. So I want to encourage all those coming to support those articles and go over them with a little bit of in depth so that people can understand. First of all, on Article 1 for town meeting, this is a total amount of over $2 million coming from the town to various departments, of which over $597,000 would be appropriated for the school. This would be a significant amount and help to our district and our operations. Specifically, that would address several staffing issues, one having to do with our most recently federal Title I allotment being cut, as most districts in the state have been cut in that monies, and that we see that Title I money providing significant services for our most needy students. So to have the ability to now have those monies recouped within the budget will certainly allow those services to continue to happen. So that will be a significant piece. In addition to that, we're looking at technology specialist position to help us utilize and effectively integrate the amount of technology we've increased in the district over the past year. Also a special education teacher at Tewksbury Memorial High School to support the learning environment there, particularly in the area of co-teaching and inclusion models. A math coach position to increase support to classroom teachers across the district in math instruction. And certainly a need in this district is to work on our math instruction. And if we look at our data, we know that's a big push for us. So this will help in that area. And also half a position of a English language learner teacher to support our ever-changing community and the needs of our students. So as our students' numbers increase, that English is not their first language, we certainly want to make sure we're supporting those students. In addition to that, we'll be supporting with that funding additional ongoing maintenance contracts and professional development, specifically identified in those areas correlated to the technology implementation of the district. We've also targeted some areas additionally in technology, specifically in Apple server, which the district does not have a specific server to Apple products. We've done a significant purchase of iPads in the district, and this will help support that transition, particularly in the infrastructure realm. We are in desperate need of some repairs for the Project Adventure equipment at the Wynn Middle School. Certainly a great opportunity for students. We want to make sure that equipment is safe and well maintained. And also at the high school, the utilization of a lift for service and maintenance in the high school, particularly in the auditorium with its very high ceiling and in the gym to address lighting and HVAC issues. The lift that was brought over from the previous existing high school does not meet those needs. We've had to rent out for lifts. By purchasing a lift, we lower our costs long term, so it's certainly something that we look at. And also health insurance and Medicare costs that go along with those positions. So in Article 1, we can see where that would definitely support direction the district is going in, is providing quality instruction, quality facilities for the district. Article 2 specifically addresses 3 items, one of which pertains to the school district in that it was a bill that we received from our legal counsel that came after the fiscal year, so we could, in order to pay that bill, we have to bring it into the next fiscal year and it has to be voted on. That was just a billing area on their end that did not get to us in time. The next article dealing with the schools is Article 5. And this would allocate over $1 million to some significant capital situations within the school district, specifically identifying new water heaters in the Dewey Elementary School and the Heathbrook School. We certainly want to make sure we're maintaining these schools even despite their age, and even in the context of approaching a new building project. We want to make sure we're supporting those buildings that will still be here servicing our students regardless of what direction the building project goes into. Also, some additional paint and outside fascia work on the Heathbrook School to improve the appearance on that as well. Also an upgrade in the fire alarm panels at both the Dewey and the Heathbrook School to bring that from an analog scenario into a digital scenario to better support the safety of those buildings. Also additional new heat controls in the wind, in the Rhine, to make those heating and cooling systems efficient and to bring them into a far more technology-based monitoring system. And we're also looking at replacing a significant project in replacing all exterior doors in both Heathbrook and the Dewey Elementary Schools, both for facilities, both for maintenance and efficiency and heating and cooling, but also in safety. So those would be significant infrastructure improvements on our existing buildings, and certainly preparing us to service our students long-term in those buildings. So again, we're very much appreciative to the town, to this committee for supporting us in those endeavors, specific to Article 5 and Article 1. Additionally, Article 8 also has to do with the technology infrastructure in the town. It will deal with the fiber optic opportunities for town agencies and school agencies to all interact on one fiber network, which many districts are doing right now. And once that is done, it allows us to look at an implementation of technology in a much easier realm. And it won't be school specific. Once those are integrated throughout the town, it should be a great support for us long term. Additionally, Article 12 has to do with the Ella Fleming School. This would be the scenario where we give the ownership of the Ella Fleming School back to the town. The Ella Fleming School is a great building, has a lot of historical value. It's not serviceable for the school district to support the students, but the town, I think, certainly has some ideas about where that can be a very much a serviceable building for the town. So it sounds like a great opportunity for all of us. And those are the articles that will specifically relate to the school department. And again, once again, I encourage all citizens to please turn out for town meeting on Tuesday at 7 p.m. here at the high school. In addition to that, I want to let the committee know and the committee know that I participated in the Superintendent's and Chiefs Breakfast hosted by the Middlesex District Attorney's Office, and had the pleasure of attending that with Chief Sheen and Chief Hazel. And you know, it's a great opportunity for us to get together in town, but it really allowed me to reflect on the amount of support in this town for the school district, particularly at the town level. Every turn I make in regards to student safety, traffic, any other kind of support, the outreach from both Chief Hazel and Chief Sheen is just amazing. And they're great partners for our students in this district, and I can't say that enough. And you can see it in some of the programming that's coming up through the police department. They have several pieces going on right now to include Community Safe Halloween hosted by the Tewksbury Police Department. That will be on October 29th here at Tewksbury Memorial High School. Great event, great safe way for students to trick or treat and families to take part in a great community event. That's always very much aligned with some of our same goals in the school district. And we actually took in a piece that the police were doing in the community, which was Coffee with the Cop program, that's in the community, and that's held on October 4th at night at Perfectos for community members to come in and have coffee and cup. We extended that into, on that same day, having milk with the cup in all of our elementary schools. So during lunch, there'll be a police officer in the cafeteria having milk with students. And it's just a great way to connect our police officers, our police force, our, all those emergency responders with our students, with our district. It just goes hand in hand. And certainly we support also the police chief on his substance abuse prevention and education week that's coming up, which is really now turned into a month-long process in October. And that starts October 15th with the Candlelight Vigil at 6:30 at Tewksbury State Hospital. Multiple events all the way up to October 28th. There's a prescription drug buyback program. But these are great events in the town, and we certainly support the police and fire because these are important issues for all of our families. So we want to make sure we're definitely supporting the police on all of those elements. And also just a final reminder that the Apple Fest will be here at Tewksbury Memorial High School on Saturday, October 28th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Great community event. That's all I have, Madam Chair. I'll turn it over to Ms. Reed.
Thank you. First on my updates is that last Thursday was International Day of Peace. We talk about that every year. It's a traditional event at the Ryan School where all of the teachers and students create a pinwheel where they draw or write on the pinwheel their hopes for peace in the world. They symbolically plant the pinwheel and hope that those wishes will go out into the world and have a much more peaceful world. We certainly could use that. This year, I'd like to really throw out our thank you to Melissa Lane more than last year because Melissa changed it up a little. She had students, she created in string 2 huge peace signs on the lawn between the Ryan and the Center School. The students planted their pinwheels all along those peace signs. So we had these breathing, spinning, 2 big peace signs all day to look at from the Center School, but it really, as I said, symbolically threw those wishes out into the world, and I really admire the Ryan School for keeping that tradition up. My second update is really comes in an apology because I got you all excited about a STEAM presentation at this school committee meeting, which we need to postpone and plan in sync with the TEF townwide auction, which is geared towards STEAM again in our schools. But we really could not gather our honored students and all those team members for this meeting. And they are creating quite a video that will also serve for the townwide auction. So they'll be showcasing that at our November 15th meeting. In your packet, however, though, you see that I did put in, it is in part just really, again, that word symbolic of what STEAM is starting to look like in Tewksbury through the support of the community, through the support of the foundation and the committee. The happy faces in these pictures really tell the whole story. Our new STEAM rooms is, just thrilling our students around engineering practices, thinking, reasoning, creative problem solving, collaboration, really key learning objectives that not only affect science and math, but all aspects of a student's learning day. So this is the type of engagement we really are looking to enhance throughout our feeder, our elementary science program, so that we see more students participating in higher level science and math and engineering in our high school and then college. And we know that those are the directions we need to help kids point their career path in a little bit better here in Tewksbury. And this article really highlights how we're starting to do that. So today, on the topic of STEM, STEM Director Jason Stamp and myself kicked off a collaborative effort with 16 other area districts with the Department of Education. And our goal is to look at math program sequencing, especially through 8th grade. The data we looked at today was compelling. The more students that participate in Algebra 1 in 8th grade participate at much higher levels and perform at much higher levels in both MCAS, SATs, and AP tests. What does that mean? We need to better prepare our students for math younger. How do you do that is the conundrum. So we worked with those 16 other districts. We looked at several options. We will explore that all through this year because in particularly, we need to focus on preparing our students through 7th to be better prepared for Algebra 1. We know that it's a challenge, and much like the other districts, we'll look at many of those aspects to that time on learning, levels of courses, that type of programming. So I look forward to giving you more information as we continue to meet. And then finally, October 5th marks our first half-day workshop in the district, and I don't think you'll be surprised when you hear what some of the learning events are. The Tewksbury Memorial High School will be just kicking off, coming out of a 2-day assessment with West Ed. West Ed, a consultancy group that's been working with the district on inclusive practice, will now start that work at the high school. They're going to assess first the needs of the high school. On October 5th, they'll have a little bit of framing the work for the year for our high school staff, and then our staff at the high school work in their departments to look at their data-driven needs. So what is the data showing them through their Mastery Connect work? So if you remember, I keep talking about that instructional cycle. How will we know, and what will we do about it? So West Ed will continue to do that work with our team on inclusive practice. What does the data tell us we need to do for students? Our grades 5 through 8 teachers will be working in depth with Dr. Nikki Newton on better instructional math practices. And then our PK through 4, these are the highlights of the day. There are a lot of moving pieces, but our PK through 4 team will be working on literacy during 2017 and really looking at the interventions and online components of that program.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Mahoney, Mrs. Regan?
I just have one comment, Madam Chair. It just came up last night in the selectmen's meeting, and I thought I would reiterate it. There is no plan for us to give the Wellington School control to take that building down, as some people are now saying in the community. The town manager made that crystal clear last night. Just want to make sure everyone in the community is aware of that. They're not making more parking out of it. It's a simple transfer because we think that the town has a better usage for the building, and that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Okay, moving right along to our consent agenda. Does anyone wish to take anything off our consent agenda this evening? Are there any comments or questions with our consent agenda? If not, would someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda.
I'll second.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to accept tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Okay, moving right along to committee reports. Mr. Francis, we'll start with you with the Elementary School Building Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, I just want to give a brief update since our last presentation on August 16th. Members of the Building Committee have volunteered to form a designer selection subcommittee, which is for an architect. It's Superintendent Malone, Assistant Superintendent Regan, myself, and members Shannon Demos and Jonathan Champa. That subcommittee and the OPM met on Wednesday, September 20th, and we prepared the request for proposal for procuring a design architect. Our red line version was sent to the MSBA for their review and comment, and once they send that back to us, we'll look at it and make any adjustments that we have to. We'll be finalizing this design RFP and advertising between now and October 10th. The design's RFPs are currently scheduled to be submitted to us on the 1st of November. The review of designs